Hi, this is Mike of the Stronger for Longer show, and today we're here with Jordan, who
Hello.
is the owner of Wisk Keto Cafe.
Yeah,
And
Cafe
we're
Wisk.
really excited to talk about everything keto as well as what Jordan has done to start his business. So thanks for being on the show, Jordan.
Thank you.
We got a little bit of history, don't we?
Yeah, we see them coming together.
Okay, don't reveal everything on here.
Yeah, show me love, right?
Yeah. Jordan and I, so we've actually known each other for at least 10 years. At least 10.
Yeah.
And I know you've gone through quite a transformation of like your own life, your work life,
Yeah.
and just in the last 3 months, you opened your Wisk Keto Cafe in Inglewood.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. What inspired the idea?
Man, I started keto 6 years ago, and it really was basically 7 days after I started doing low carb keto. At the time, it was like hardcore strict keto. It changed my life. It literally changed my energy because that's what I was after, and it just became this like 6-year journey. I had different jobs. I joined the military as a medic for 3 years. My brother is a medic in the military now, and I just got to learn more about human physiology and biology and how all this kind of like all the pieces of the puzzle came together. And I knew, after day 7 of doing keto for me personally, I knew that I wanted to do something with it. I wanted to share it with the world in some capacity. And this is just the way in which it came to me in the cafe.
Love it. And even as a fitness fanatic,
Yeah.
Because tell us a little bit too about what you do for your fitness program.
For me, myself, I mean, I got my personal training diploma back in 2012. I always loved fitness, and I thought that was the direction I was going to go in.
Awesome.
And I did CrossFit for a year. I learned a lot. There was obviously pros and cons to that. The Olympic lifting is what really stuck with me. I absolutely love that aspect, that really heavy lift, all out, And so that's how I do most of my workouts. I do a lot of heavy lifts. I incorporate a lot of Olympic lifting, single dumbbell, like clean and jerks, push press, body weight stuff, pull-ups, some ring stuff, squats. The basic compound movement is really important stuff. I keep it nice, short and sweet. And that's kind of it where I'm at right now. I'm not competing in anything. I'm just doing it for just general health. So I try to keep it simple.
Love it. And then from there, what inspired you to really, other than open a business, but also be like a cook too? Because we've got these amazing things which we're gonna try on the show.
That's about all I can make.
And you'll get to see what these look like inside. They're unreal.
Yeah. Well, I'm not much of a cook, to be honest. A lot of the stuff that we do, it's a fixed menu, right? So we come up with the recipes. There's a lot. These took me like 4 or 5 months to create.
Wow.
A lot of trial and error. So again, I'm not a cook. I'm not a trained cook. But if I have a goal in mind, I will do whatever it takes to become very good at what I have to become good at. And in this case, it happens to be I got to go to make paninis, the bread, the desserts, and the soups, right? So I can do all those things, those specific recipes. But if you ask me to go on a cooking show, man, I'm not gonna have a clue what I'm doing. It'll be hilarious. But yeah, that's I've had to put on that role, right? Put on that costume, if you will, right? That uniform. I've worn a lot of uniforms.
Yes.
And now it's put on the
Army
chef hat,
uniform.
Army uniform as a medic, soccer coach, construction. I've done a lot of things, a lot of different trades, and this is just the next role in my life right now. All right, restaurateur.
Cool. Well, tell us about your actual keto cafe. What makes it different?
So what makes it different is that we're I think there's another one in Grand Prairie somewhere called Keto Cafe, but we're basically, other than them, we're the only ones I think in Canada that are 100% low carb, keto, and gluten free. Everything is not only sugar free, gluten free, soy free, and grain free. This is delicious, right? It's not like when you think of health food, typically like, oh, we're gonna eat a very healthy gluten free something. Typically, they're full of sugar.
Right.
Gluten free stuff is full of sugar.
Yeah.
Because again, for them, it's just the gluten that bothers them, the celiacs. But for us, we've nailed the combinations, and it's not only delicious, it's not brittle and dry, it doesn't fall apart. Everything is just full of flavor, but it also is sugar-free, grain-free, and gluten-free. Especially the lean backs, which is a dessert, which I realize now is pretty special. I didn't realize that there was no such thing as such a delicious donut, the cream-filled donut, that was sugar-free, grain-free, and gluten-free. So I guess that combination doesn't really exist, and I guess it really does set us apart. Right? We're the only ones 100% keto. There's some places doing keto menus now. You see it a lot. Gallagher's is one of them. I think Boston Pizza. They all have little sections, but we're 100%. You can pick through the whole menu, and everything is under 5 net carbs.
That's your special thing.
Everything on the menu, and that's what Wisk actually stands for. It's an Iroquois word meaning 5.
Oh,
it's a very culinary word too. Yeah, it's really cool. It kind of all fell into place. And so that's kind of the big concept.
Yeah.
Going forward, right? So, yeah.
Love it. Because these are like the main salads, and I've already tried one.
Yeah.
But I know people are already salivating.
Oh man.
Natalie, are you salivating? To try it.
Yeah.
And and can't wait. So why do you think these are so popular?
Well, it's one of those things where when you go low carb or you go keto, a lot of people say, man, I miss pastries, I miss bread, I miss sugar. Because I like sugar, I have a sweet tooth. I always have had a sweet tooth, and obviously I grew up on carbs, right?
I knew you for that. You were the dessert guy.
There you go. You know that. Yeah, dude, I could crush sugar like you wouldn't believe. And when I went keto, it's funny because I went super strict for like the first couple of years, and I didn't eat any. I didn't even know about these erythritol and xylitol and stevia. I didn't know about that stuff, so I just didn't eat it. Yeah. And my sugar cravings plummeted. I just did not crave cakes and pastries like I used to. And a lot of that has to do with like, the gut microbiome and all the the hunger hormones and a lot of the neurotransmitters and everything, right? And one day I guess I discovered the sweeteners, and I was like, okay, it'd be cool to learn to bake a little bit. And so we started doing things, and I was like, man, I love it. I've always had a sweet tooth, but my tolerance is much lower. It's much lower than it used to be. So like, for example, these, they're wicked. I can only eat like maybe 2 a day. Sometimes I've eaten 5, but typically I eat 1 or 2, and I'm like, I'm done. I just can't. It's good enough. It satisfies that craving for something sweet, but it's also very satiating because there's so much fat in it. There's almost 30 grams of fat. So it kind of has like a what's it called, an appetite control like in it already, right? When you eat it, you're like, oh, you give it a few minutes, and the hunger hormones hit your brain, back to the CCK, and you're just like, bah, you know what, I'm good. And a lot of people say that when they go to the cafe, they'll just eat the panini, the soup, and they'll have a box of these in front of them, and like, I can't even touch them. I'm gonna wait till I get home. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that.
And I love that part you talk about leptin and hunger control.
Yeah.
Because you know that with a lot of people, right, that's why sugar is so addictive. Right? And as you get older, your tolerance to have it decreases. Would you say?
That's right. Oh, big time.
Like you basically you gain fat quicker.
Yes.
When you have carbs.
Yes, and that's to do with insulin resistance, right? Because as we get older, your pancreas, a lot of people say, oh, I'm ripped and everything, but my pancreas is an organ. It's not more muscular or more efficient, just that much more because I work out every day, right? Your pancreas will get tired of producing so much insulin when you carb load. For example, a lot of athletes carb load, and they'll have massive pasta, rice, potatoes, whatever, all the carbs you can eat. Your pancreas has to keep your blood sugar in a very tight parameter. We learned this as in paramedic school, 4 to 8 feeling great. So this is a small parameter. You have about 10, maybe 15 grams of sugar in your blood in one go, like at any time. At any time. That's what's like safe, right? Yeah. And if you eat anything from Subway, for example, just a sandwich, and it has about 60, 70 grams of carbs, your body's gonna turn that into sugar, blood sugar, and that's gonna go way over your limit. So your pancreas is gonna pump a bunch of insulin. And then what happens, it overshoots, drives your blood sugar down, and you get hungry again, you get hypoglycemia, and you get tired, I need a snack, juice, a cookie. What happens after that? That cookie's got like 30 grams of carbs. It shoots up, and so your energy all day is like this, right? Unless you're eating things that are all only low on the glycemic loaded index, you're gonna be up and down. And that's where I was. I was up and down. I was fit as hell on CrossFit in that 1 hour, but my day-to-day energy sucked. Right now, every day I was craving anything, something, a cookie, a milk, juice. And when I went low carb, it disappeared. I just don't crave food all the time. I can go 5, 6, 7, 8 hours without eating, no problem. And I'm gaining muscle a lot more than I was in the past. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, just to your point there, when your body secretes a lot of insulin, what's the next thing too, right?
Well, there's a lot of inflammation, fat storage.
Fat storage.
It's a fat storage hormone, right? It's funny because the body has, I think it's like 9 mechanisms that can increase our glucose, our blood glucose levels naturally if we need that burst of energy. Adrenaline is for one. If you get scared, that fight or flight, glucagon, boom, you're going to release a bunch of sugar, right? There's a lot of mechanisms, but only one can lower your blood sugar, and that's insulin. Literally the only one. So why is the food industry making all these foods that literally raises our blood sugar when our body can do that in 9 different ways? So that to me tells me that the body is not meant to be running on sugar all the time and having your blood, your blood glucose level so high and your insulin so high, because hyperinsulinemia is now linked to most all diseases, right? Type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's, that's insulin resistance in the brain is a big part of it, right?
And it can affect brain function.
Oh my God, that's
another topic.
That's a whole other topic, right? Brain fog. I used to have that a lot.
Yes.
And when I went low carb, especially keto, when my ketone levels were really high on my blood, I just feel like my brain is on fire, like that movie Limitless when the guy takes the pill. And literally, that was what changed my life.
Okay.
The day 7, I went to work and I was scraping paint off the wall, and when I put the scraper to the wall, it literally was like horse blinders came on and it like zoomed into the wall. It was so dramatic. I actually took my eyes off like the wall and I looked around. I was like, what in the world just happened? And then I went back to scraping and it was just this hyper focus. It was so strange, but very like euphoric. And that was like, to me, the most powerful moment that I had. I said, this is it. Like, I gotta share this with the world. And there's a lot of science now that talks about that, right? Like ketones in terms of energy production. Each ketone molecule, I think, produces much more ATP per unit of oxygen than glucose compared to glucose. It's something like 225% more energy. And I've experienced it. I don't understand all the science, but I know what it feels like, and I hear it in my cafe every single day. Better energy, better sleep, better mood, better focus, less anxiety. You know, I lifted my depression, all sorts of things like that. It's therapeutic. It's amazing, and the science is catching up. We work with a lot of doctors, a large network here in Canada called the Canadian Clinicians for Therapeutic Nutrition, and they treat their patients with low carb and keto primarily in conjunction with other methods, like conventional methods. But primarily it's nutrition. That's where they start.
Yes.
And the things they see is amazing. The amount of medications they're just taking the patients
for
off.
mental health.
All of it. No, just metabolic health in general, but mental health too. Yes, all those things. But especially diabetes is a big one, right? Diabetes. But yeah, anxiety medications, blood pressure medications is another huge one. Because again, blood pressure is not caused by too much salt. It's caused by insulin resistance, which causes salt retention, right? But that's from too many refined carbohydrates, too much sugar, not too much salt. Salt is an essential mineral. You need them, right? So the potassium pump, you know this from training, right? You know calcium and all that. It's super important for muscle contraction and your heart and everything else, right? For the cells. So again, a lot of science coming out. There's a lot of doctors starting to like see like, man, this stuff, there might be a lot more to it than we thought.
Well, and for people who don't know what the keto diet is, right? It's basically, from what I've read, it's about 80% fat. Roughly 70-80.
The classical. See, that's the classical. And that's where there's a lot of not misinformation, but there's a lot of different opinions and stuff. That's the classical keto was used back in the 1920s to treat and often cure drug-resistant epilepsy in children. That's classical keto is like 90% fat,
huge,
8% protein and 2% carb. So it's pretty extreme. It's almost like carnivore. Although carnivore is another topic, which I'm more keto carnivore now, but. Keto is like, it's a modified, when I started it was a modified keto, it was like 60 to 70% fat, 20 to 25 protein, and then the rest of the carbs, like fruits and vegetables and all that. And I've since switched over, like last 2 years, to keto carnivore, so I don't eat greens anymore, vegetables, but like very little, whatever's in my panini is like a little bit of pepper.
So it's just meat?
I eat like 20 to 25 ounces of steak a day, 10 eggs in my smoothie.
Wow.
And I tell you right now, I've built more muscle and I feel more powerful and stronger than I have when I was doing either the carbs or just like kind of keto, which was more high in fat. Now I'm doing like high protein and still a pretty high amount of fat, and I just feel really good. I honestly physically feel so strong in the gym, and under as much stress as I am, obviously the last 3 months not taking a single day off except Christmas. I feel like I should be withering away if anything with all the stress, but I'm actually building muscle. Working every single day, 16 hours a day, and I work out twice a week in the gym, and I'm seeing gains. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome.
And but again, it's one of those things where I'm my own scientist, right? You'll hear a lot of different thoughts. Oh, don't do that. Your kidneys this, your kidneys that. I'm doing it 2 years, and my kidneys are fine. I got no health issues. I've never had any major health issues, and I feel good. I listen to my body, and I think that's something that's important, right? There's no one size fits all keto. It's not, no, you have to be 80% fat. No, just play around with it and see where you feel good. Some people require less, some people require more. Everyone has obviously a different medical history. Are they on medications? Their metabolism, varies. Your sleep, your relationships, your mental state, emotional state, all these things affect how your body, your metabolism basically affects all of it. And so it's not as simple as, no, it's 80% fat, 20% protein, and the rest, no carbs. It doesn't work that way for me. It's not that simple.
That's a great point. That's what I want to get into, because when a lot of members or clients come and ask me, okay, what is keto? And a lot of people too, because it's still pretty new.
Yeah.
Trying to find out, is this a trend? Is this for real?
I tell you it's not a trend, but it is trending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like for people like that, when you say, okay, you don't have to be 80%, like could you be say 50% and still considered keto? Like
well, when I say the thing is keto, the reason it's called keto is because your body is running predominantly on ketone bodies. Right. There's three of them: beta hydroxybutyrate, acetoacetate, which is one that you measure on the pee stick, and acetone, which comes out of the breath. Okay. So for me, like if you're saying like you're doing keto, is because you want to produce ketones. Your liver will take out the fat and turn it into ketone bodies, and that'll obviously energize you. Yeah. So not every meal that I have in my cafe will put someone in ketosis necessarily, but it is low carb. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my focus. And over the years, I realized that being in a state of ketosis does not guarantee that you're gonna burn more fat. It means you are burning fat as a fuel. The dietary fat that you're eating doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna lose. You can actually gain weight on keto. I've seen it. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to distinguish that, right? Yeah. Keto, being in a state of ketosis, having high blood ketone levels can be very beneficial, especially when it comes to certain like illnesses, metabolic illnesses, like cancers, and there's a lot of research going into that, right? Yeah. Seizures or epilepsy. Ketones are proven to like literally have an amazing effect on that, like almost stopping them completely. So in certain cases, I think, it is absolutely beneficial to be in ketosis, but for general health, I think if you just keep your carbs low and your insulin kind of baseline where it should be, you're gonna your energy immediately is gonna get better. I hear people, I stopped eating so much pop and I turned on the pasta and the bread and I immediately my energy's better. Of course, because you're not spiking your blood sugar and then your insulin, and it's like a roller coaster. So when you just level that out, you're a step in the right direction. And then if you want to go keto, absolutely, I say try it. Be your own scientist, and you'll see what ketones feel like in your brain, because they truly do feel different. And we sell exogenous ketones at the cafe, and people get to take keto for a test drive, because you're ingesting exogenous ketones. They go in your brain, your blood, and you're like, oh man. A lot of people will say like, man, I felt amazing. And I say that's how you feel when you're in a state of ketosis, right? And it's not something that I'm not always in a state of ketosis myself. I know I'm not, but I flex in and out. Metabolic flexibility I think is also really important, especially today. In today's age, right? It's not everything's keto. There's, I might be a day when you and I go out, we're going out for dinner, and all they have is like pasta, this and that. Yeah. I'm not gonna be that guy, like.
So you're still flexible.
I'm flexible. Yeah, I'm flexible. Like I literally eat like 95% of the time I'm eating low carb. Yeah. So if I decide, I'm going out with Mike tonight with his wife, they're treating me to dinner, and it's an Italian restaurant, and there's a bunch of pasta. Hey, I want to have a small bowl. Right. I'm not gonna go crazy for the whole weekend and eat a bunch of carbs, but one meal is not going to kill me. I may feel a bit tired after, and sometimes I do, maybe a little bit bloated, because I feel more sensitive now to carbs than I used to. Because obviously your gut, everything changes, and you kind of notice the effect a lot more. Because I don't get it when I eat steak and eggs. I feel great. I don't have any GI effects. I feel fantastic. I'll go eat a bowl of pasta. I might get bloated a little bit, I might cram, gassy, and all these things. And I really noticed, because before it used to be like that was a normal thing, so you kind of forget about it, right? But now it's a little more pronounced. But again, like I said, it's important to be flexible in certain situations, like in the military. Man, I couldn't eat keto in the military up in the field. On some of my training, I had no choice. It was either, because they don't give you all the meat you want, they're not just going to give you extra meat. It's like everyone gets one portion. So it's like, what? I'm loading up on carbs. I need my energy, and I know what it's going to be like, but that's what I have to do, and I can run on carbs no problem. It's just not, I don't feel as optimal that way.
And for someone who's just like new or wanting to start keto, how many grams of carbs do you think they should have a day? Like if they're gonna measure it, is there a range?
Yeah, there are different ranges. I read a lot like 50, if you start at 50 net carbs, it's like considered low carb. Because when you think about it, the general population, they're having like 200 grams of carbs a day. It's 300, right? So if you're going to 50, you're cutting that down by a factor of 7. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Right? 6 or 7. That's going to make a huge difference. But you want to be careful not to kind of fall in limbo mode where you're like not eating a low enough amount of carbs to kind of produce ketones, but you're not eating enough to run on sugar. So you're going to be like hypoglycemic is essentially what's going to happen, right?
You don't want to go too hard too fast.
Well, I did. And it worked for me, but again, I adapt really quick to whatever I do, whether it's exercise or even nutrition. I do adapt quickly. Everyone's different. But I'm that kind of guy. If I'm doing something, I'm just gonna go all out and I'm gonna try it out. But for a lot of people, I say start with like if you drink a lot of pop or you eat a lot of rice, bread especially is the killer.
Yeah.
Try cutting that out. Start cutting it down. If you have a hard time going cold turkey, start cutting certain things down. And educate yourself. That's the most important thing. Is you have to educate yourself before you go into something like keto or low carb, because physiology, the way your body functions, will be different. There's going to be certain side effects that if you don't expect them and you don't understand them, they might scare you. It'll be like, that's it doesn't work. Keto flu is the biggest one, right? When you lower your carb intake, your insulin drops. When your insulin drops, you release more water, but you also release calcium, potassium, sodium, chloride, all these things, all these electrolytes. And if you don't replenish it by adding extra salt to everything, you're gonna be dehydrated. You know what I mean? You're gonna feel like crap. And then you're gonna be like, oh, keto. And a lot of people say, keto doesn't work. I had a headache and I had no energy like the first weekend, and then it got better, so I just went back to carbs. Well, you should have educated yourself a little bit more. And I didn't go into it blindly. I read an entire book. I saw videos. I scoured the internet to understand what it was, what it would do to my body. So again, educate yourself before you go into this lifestyle. Find people who are doing it and ask them what their experience, what things to look out for, pros and cons. And then when you run into those issues, you're not going to throw in the towel so fast. You'll be like, no, I think I get it. I read about this. I just got to tweak here, tweak there, and you'll come out on top. So.
Love it. Well, thanks for bringing on this. If I were to sum up what you said, people, well, obviously, first thing, the big thing is to find out what works for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a big part. Another thing is if you're going to start, try to aim for 50 net carbs or less.
Yeah, to start, even 20, like if you want to get into ketosis, like if that's your goal, you really want to experience it, then I'd say like go under like 30, 20 even.
Okay.
And then you'll essentially get rid of all the glycogen in your muscles and your liver pretty quick within 24, 36 hours. And then your body's going to have to start converting the fat into ketones. But again, you have to make sure you do it properly, get enough salt, get enough fat, enough protein, and then you'll kind of have your own experience.
Makes you want to experiment more, for sure, right? Because I would say for me, I'm a more balanced, but I like trying new things. I just tried some intermittent fasting, which worked pretty well.
Yeah.
But I like to experiment. This is the one thing I haven't experimented yet, which is a higher fat base plan.
Yeah.
I would, I'm up for anything.
Your brain will feel good.
Yeah. Well, before finishing, what's the best one? What's like the best one?
This is like, if I ask you have kids, 2 kids, who's your favorite child, right? I don't know. I made these, man. But
which one is the most popular?
So,
what do we got?
The most popular, I think, right now is the cacao buttercream with roasted hazelnuts. Is the best seller. The CO is like the commanding officer, military drug, but it was one of the most popular in the tastings. Vanilla filling with chocolate glaze. This one here is the OG Sin. Original Sin is apple cinnamon buttercream with walnuts.
How do you pick?
I know. And then here we got lemon custard buttercream with real lemons, of course, and roasted coconut on top. But that was my favorite. And then the newest one here, it's kind of plain looking. We gotta tweak it, make it look prettier, but it's a passion fruit buttercream. Oh my god, man! It's seriously like.
Okay, I'm gonna take a bite. Because this is close.
Yeah, this is the closest one. Sugar-free, grain-free, gluten-free, and soy-free. If you can believe it. Oh, they're jammed. We filled it. Yeah.
How many grams of fat?
27 grams of fat, 2 grams of protein, and that's 1.6 net carbs. The vanilla is 1.3. The OG Sin is about 2.5. Lemon is 2, and the passion fruit is only 3 net carbs. So they're ultra low carb, no sugar, and I'm sure you can't tell. If I didn't tell you, you'd think they're full of sugar. They're sweet. Yeah, you would think so, right? But it's we use erythritol, which is a sugar alcohol, a diabetic sugar, which will not get spiked in blood sugar. And we've had a lot of type 1 diabetics with their continuous blood glucose monitors. They send me graphs when they come eat, so it's amazing. It literally goes up at one point, and they eat all the food. They don't take any insulin, no fast acting. It's amazing, right? So the proof's in the pudding, right? Which is really cool. Or the buttercream. So yeah, no, it's cool. It's fun to come up with new flavors and to keep feeding people delicious, healthy food, and they feel good when they come out of the cafe. They're always feeling good. They're not feeling tired, and like you normally would from a high carb meal.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being on the show.
Of course.
Our members are going to be so happy because I'm going to cut some of these up and they're
going
to try when they come in.
Nice.
So they're going to have a little treat. But thanks again, and yeah.
Hey,
awesome.
Pleasure, brother.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Done.
Sweet. Cool, man. That was good. How long was that?
It was like 20 minutes.
Hey,
Can you see if it's still going?
watch. Oh, we never started.
You stopped.
Is it stopped?